Hey everybody, how's it going? It's the Daily Shooter, and if there's a politician out there who is the best at sticking his own foot in his mouth, it's gotta be Joe Biden. I mean, this guy is a walking meme. It is incredible some of the stuff that this guy says. What's more incredible is that he was actually vice president for 8 years. Well, recently he showed that he has absolutely no understanding of the Constitution or the Second Amendment in general by making some of the most insane comments that I've heard on the topic yet. So let's go and talk about it. This channel is proud to be supported by the Firearms Policy Coalition. Make sure you click that link in the description box, become a member, and donate when you can, because these people are working tirelessly day and night to make sure that the government does not encroach on our rights. Okay, so let me go ahead and give you guys some context before I roll in a video and show you exactly what he said. Essentially, he's standing in front of a group of reporters and onlookers, and he's talking about his achievements in the area of gun control, taking on the NRA, banning magazines, banning specific firearms, and so forth. And then at the end of his statement, this guy makes one of the biggest gaffes ever. It shows that he has absolutely no clue and no understanding about the Second Amendment or the Constitution for that matter. It is incredible some of the stuff that comes out of this guy's mouth, and this one, if you ask me, kind of takes the cake.
Teflon bullets weren't available any longer. It opened up the whole effort to make sure there's background checks for the first time in American history. Look, the Second Amendment exists, but it doesn't say you can own any kind of weapon you want. It doesn't say everybody's entitled to one.
Okay, so let's go ahead and break this down real quick, because obviously Joe Biden does not have a clear understanding of what the Second Amendment is or what the Second Amendment means. He said that the Second Amendment does not entitle everybody to own one. Well, first off, Joe, the Second Amendment is not an entitlement. It's a right. You need to understand the difference before you go out in public and start opening your mouth. It is not an entitlement, it is a right. As a matter of fact, the Second Amendment is such a right that it existed prior to the Constitution. A Constitution and our Bill of Rights simply enumerates the rights that existed prior to the document being written. So the Constitution is rules for government. These are your rules, Joe. And our founders knew that one day our government could become tyrannical, and we should probably write these rules down. We're going to go ahead and list these first rules in the Bill of Rights so that our government knows what natural rights our citizens are afforded while they're in office. These are rules for you, not rules for us. So when they say a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, they're not telling us that. They're telling you that. They're telling you that you cannot infringe on the people's right to keep and bear arms. It does not say what type of arms. It doesn't say at what technology level this right stops. It does not say all of the things that you mentioned simply because it is an all-encompassing right. We have the right to keep and bear arms. Not the ones that you choose for us, not the ones that you think are too dangerous, not the ones that have specific features that you don't like. We have a right to keep and bear arms, and you shall not infringe on that right. And again, this is a right that existed prior to this document being created. The Constitution, the rules for government, it's very short. I don't know if you've seen the rules and the regulations that govern us, the people, but it's pretty extensive. If you take the rules for government, they're very small. You should be able to understand this. You should be able to read all this little writing right here and understand the rules that govern you and the government are very crystal clear. Now, keep in mind, this is the guy who served as vice president for 8 years. This is the guy who presided over the second highest seat in the country. He has no understanding of what the Constitution actually is, and he's sitting at the second highest seat in the table. That is a scary thought. Another scary thought is that pretty much the entire field of Democrats that I see running right now pretty much share the same values, the same understanding, the same concepts, where if you were to say what something doesn't say, then that would make it right. And that's where things get a little bit sketchy. Instead of looking at the Bill of Rights and looking at the Second Amendment and saying that the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, instead of looking at that and saying, well, it doesn't say that you can own this, or it doesn't say that you can do that, it doesn't say. If we can list off all the things that it doesn't say, obviously there's going to be a million different things, and if we can actually use that as some way to levy our plan for confiscation or removal of these firearms, then look, I got an entire laundry list of things that I can say that it doesn't say. We have to focus on what it actually says. It says that the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Period. You know, there's some people that'll say that that pertains to militia, but the Supreme Court has already ruled on that one, and the comma right there, the comma that is in the middle of militia and people, it specifies that there needs to be a well-regulated militia, you know, that's necessary to the security of a free state, and the right of the people to keep and bear arms should not be infringed. These are two separate things. So the militia argument is completely out the window, and then when it talks about what it doesn't say, obviously it doesn't say anything other than that because it's clear and very specific. The Second Amendment simply protects us from you trying to make rules about us keeping and bearing arms. You're not actually allowed to make rules governing us keeping and bearing arms, whether you like it or not. It's just like free speech, Joe. If I say I don't like you, I'm allowed to say that. If I say I don't like my government, I disagree with my government, I wish my government would change, whatever, I'm allowed to say those things. In communist countries and other countries that don't have these rules for government written down for us, if you were to say something negative about the government, I mean, you could be thrown in jail for that. But here in the United States of America, I can say those things openly and freely because your rules are printed out right there. You can't do anything because I have the freedom to say those things. And the Second Amendment works exactly the same way. I have the freedom and the right, the natural right, not the right granted to me by the Constitution, simply enumerated by the Constitution, to keep and own arms. And I get to choose those arms. Do you know why I get to choose those arms? It's because, again, the rules are for you, not for me. The rules are for you governing me. And it says that I have this right. So you need to go back to school or something. I mean, a lot of you guys are Ivy League. A lot of you guys went to these really top, rated schools that most of us could never afford, that, have been around for 300, 400, 500, 700 years. And you're telling me that a guy standing in his garage right now in front of an American flag can explain to you exactly what the Constitution means? And you don't get that? That's kind of a sad day for both Ivy League schools and for our government. Anyway, Joe, every time you open your mouth, you're going to just knock yourself down more and more and more and more. This is the guy who is right now leading in the polls for the Democratic Party. It is a sad day in this country when somebody that ignorant can actually be that high in the polls, and people will buy into it. Anyway, that's what he said. Joe Biden at it again. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe. Have a great day.